It is 8:34. We're going to call the State Board meeting to order. First item we're going to discuss is modifications to the agenda. Due to some factors beyond our control, we are going to have some modifications. The main thing that we're going to have occur today is that we are going to table several items of discussion for the October meeting, and as they appear on the agenda, we will go ahead and announce the tabling of that item. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Give me a moment to log in, please.
Jan, can you affirm what the dates were of the meetings, the minutes?
I can tell you. Is there any discussion in regards to the minutes?
Thank you, Jan.
Is there any discussion regarding the minutes of April 11th? Is there a motion to accept the minutes of April 11th, 2022? I will second that motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Dr. Deanda, when you make a motion, if you can put your microphone on. No, that's okay. Thank you.
Next minutes are the May 25th, 2022. Is there any discussion?
I'll move to approve the minutes of the May 25 meeting as presented.
All in favor of accepting the minutes, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Next minutes are the June 21st, 2022. Is there any discussion? Is there? Pardon? Did you have a question?
Just saying.
We have a motion to accept the minutes. I will second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is report of the president. The first item that we're going to discuss is redaction on applications. That came up due to some discussion at the Arbo meeting as to protection of private information. Should a outside party request an application from a state licensee? Ann, did you want to mention anything about that?
About a year or so ago, I did have somebody actually request an application. I worked with the AG's office to get the application redacted. It took several versions before she was actually happy with what I came up with, because just marking it out with the marker that she could still read it. And so we had fun trying to get it done, but we eventually did get it redacted enough that she was happy with it and I could send it out. As far as like transcripts, the only thing that was there was like the course that they took, the grades and everything had been redacted. Same thing with MBO scores. The only thing that got left there was whether they passed. Everything else. And then I did put the example of what I actually sent out in the board's website for you to look at. It took a while to get it done, but it eventually did get done.
So the reason that this came up, like I said, was protection of private information of the licensees, applicants, etc. And we've only had one instance of this. The suggestion was made to, at the Arbo meeting, a suggestion was made to redesign the form so that it would be easy to separate private information from public information, but this doesn't appear to be an issue in our state. So instead, Jan and I discussed having some sort of an insert in the training manual on how to do it. Hopefully it won't be an issue. Next item on the report is the Arbo report, which I am going to table until October.
Dr. Lozada, if we can go back to the redaction
Certainly.
subject for just a brief moment longer, do you think it would be a good policy, and Tim, I'd appreciate you weighing in on this as well, if we have a request for an application from a third party, just to make it a policy for the board to work with the AG's office to make sure we have all of our I's dotted and our T's crossed before we send that information out? It seems like, although it was a back and forth issue for Jan for the first go round, now that she knows what they're looking for, I would hope that any future requests, I mean, first of all, obviously they're very limited, but second of all, that the AG's office would provide us some assurance that we were doing it the right way.
I agree. And we can put that in those guidelines that, or the policy that we come up with. Next item is update on investigations. These are complaints that the KSSBEO submitted to the State Board of Healing Arts. 3 of them have been closed. Actually, Hubble Contacts had 3 complaints on its own. All 3 are closed. Contactscart.com, that is closed. Discount Contact Lens, closed. Remaining open is Avio, Lens.com, Web Eye Care, Kits.com, and Ainsley Inc., which I was unfamiliar with, so that must be a new one. It looks like Kits.com and Ainsley Inc. are complaints either from the public or from a licensee. Moving on. Next item is previous business. We had discussed having a conduct and security agreement for applicants taking the licensing exam. And since we were about to have an examination, I spoke with legal counsel and we made the decision to add it to the application. And by being on the application, there's not an additional form. The applicants have to sign only one document. As I mentioned, it is already on it's already in effect for this year's applicants. We did it without a discussion, but now is the time for discussion.
Just so you know, Dr. Lozada, that I started to get applications prior to that going out and to make sure everybody had seen it. When I started sending out exam information, I made sure to attach it so everybody could see it.
Right, I believe there was 2 applications you already had and had to be separate.
Yeah, possibly 2, maybe more, depending on when they downloaded the form.
Right.
I just wanted to make sure everybody had seen it, so I sent it to everybody.
So this is the policy about candidates who on the examination, there's some question as to if they're using electronic devices, if they're copying information, what are the consequences? We did not have that already as a policy to null the score. We didn't have anything, and so we felt that it was important to put that into our policies. It's based on the on the National Board of Examiners and Optometry, the national examination. Is there any discussion? Additional discussion? Moving on, next item is the role of board members. And this is an item that I brought up in January of 2022. We've discussed it a few times. Mr. Resner is going to go over this during the legal update. Next item is rules and regulations discussion. That will be the emphasis for the October meeting. I do want to have the board members note that there are a few items that we want to look at a little more closely. That's going to be 65-5-4, 65-9-2, 65-9-3, 65-10-1. Two items that we will review is the proposal for all continuing education to be COPE approved. The KOA requested a separate proposal of 0 COPE approved hours. And we also wanted to have a discussion on interactive distance learning CE, including it as live CE. All of these items will be for the October meeting. Next item is new business. One of the big things that I wanted to discuss today was a ring binder for the new board members and a document that was provided to you. It's called board meetings. Two of our new board members had asked me how to make a motion, how to second a motion, how to go into executive session, different protocols like that. And with the help of our legal counsel, a document's been prepared. It's on the board members only page. I wanted the new members to see my old ring binder so they could see what it was like, and to figure out what they may want in the future, and then to provide that again as it used to be done. Most of the items, well, not most of the items, all of the items are now online, but something physical might be easier to handle and to distribute to the new board members. That too will be tabled for the October meeting. Next item is a facility in Lawrence, Kansas that I became aware of, known as Acumen Assessments. I gave this information to the Kansas Optometric Association, and I wanted to just present what this organization does to the state board. Let me read something off their website. Acumen Assessments is a highly specialized evaluation center located in Lawrence, Kansas. We bring nearly a century of collective knowledge in the field of clinical and forensic fitness to practice assessments and have been serving the professional communities for over 25 years. Our highly trained doctors are leaders in their field, working daily with national and international healthcare and legal professionals. So this is an organization that works with different types of licensees who may have some sort of disciplinary action that has been levied on them. And it seems like it would be a good organization to work with in certain cases where the board may recommend an evaluation by this organization in a few limited cases to help us determine what would be a good course to move forward. If you like, you can look at their website. It is acumenassessments.com. Is there any discussion from board members, legal counsel?
I don't know that I have anything to discuss other than to say it. I'd like to review the site before making any statement about this. And I'd also be interested to hear, Dr. Lozado, what your thoughts were as to what specific types of circumstances might warrant utilizing this service.
I can think of cases where there may be a suspension, a revocation, substance abuse problem, conviction, major types of events in a practitioner's life. That's who they work with. They work with MDs, they work with ODs, dentists, many types of professionals. When these situations come up, sometimes the licensing agency would like to know the status of the person who has been disciplined. Can this person return to practice? Are they able to treat patients once again? We don't have a system for that right now. Now, it would be simply something that we could recommend, but it could also be a condition for reinstatement. Yes, the individual would cover the expenses.
And Dr. Lozada, if I could add, it is similar to what some other licensing boards in our state utilize. If there is a substance abuse issue or mental health concern, where the organization can actually lay out some kind of a plan to assist the practitioner and then hopefully assist them to get back to a place where they can successfully practice.
Can I make one other comment? The board currently does have a contract with KOA for impaired providers. So that we pay them, and it's a yearly contract that we already have in place.
Who is that with?
As far as we contract with the Optometric Association, who they contract with, I do not know. So that would be a question.
Okay. I'm going to ask the executive officer of the KOA to provide some information on that group. And then we can determine how to move forward. Jan, is there something that, I'm sorry, before we move on, is there any other discussion on this? Jan, is there something that?
I'm just going to tell you, Dr. Shin is here, who's has a reciprocity to be approved. She's done taking the law exams in the gallery, so
Okay.
this is an FYI.
Dr. Shin, good morning. I understand you have a flight this morning. What time is it? 1:30. Okay. We have a scheduled executive session at 9 to 9:30. So I am going to, I don't think we can start and finish in 7 minutes. We can certainly try, okay? Would you like to come to the podium and that way we can ask some questions? Yes, please. There's an on-off button there for you.
My name is Pearl Shin. I'm an optometrist, currently not licensed in Kansas.
All right, so at this time, we're going to make a change in the agenda. We're going to discuss the reciprocity application of Dr. Shin. I have a few questions for you, Dr. Shin. I saw that you were involved with a master's level thesis in some research. What was that work on?
So that was in regards to tear inflammatory markers, specifically in regards to um, osmolarity and how small of microns of a sample could still allow for significant expression of inflammatory markers.
And that was at your learning institution?
It was.
Okay. Another question is, who, when you practice here in Kansas, who is the employer that you plan to work with?
His name is Doug Streifel. He's also an optometrist.
Is there an entity though? Because we have Area Care Partners on the application.
So ARIA Care Partners is kind of like the brand name association, which he would be able to tell you more about. I'm personally contracted just under him.
Okay. Because we have the trade name Araya Vision Care LLC,
Okay.
and we saw Araya Care Partners, and we were not sure how those two were related. Are you planning on submitting a trade name application for Araya Care Partners, since that's what was on your application?
So that would definitely be under Dr. Streifel. So if that is the trade name he would like to go under, I would also be under that.
Can you tell us a little bit about your work? See, in my notes, I have Araya Care Partners, but what you're saying is I should say your employer is Dr. Streifels?
Yes.
Okay,
No S at the end of Streifel.
I'm sorry?
No S at the end of Streifel.
Thank you. So how long have you worked with Dr. Streifel?
Going on about 6 years now.
On your application, you noted that you did not intend to practice inside the state of Kansas. I'm sorry, you do not intend to reside in the state of Kansas. Is that correct?
That is correct.
How do you plan to practice?
On a part-time basis.
So you will be traveling, I take it?
Yes, sir.
What sort of frequency and duration are you looking at?
I would presume about a week's time every couple of months or so.
I'm sorry, repeat that?
So the time that I would spend inside Kansas in any given moment would probably be around a week's time. So like a Monday through Friday or a Sunday through Thursday, something like that. And then I would only be coming in once every couple of months.
Now, I noticed that you have a license in Oregon. Do you practice in Oregon?
I actually have not practiced in Oregon.
What about Tennessee?
I have.
And how is that done?
Kind
Similar
of.
to what you just said?
Yes, sir.
And what about Alabama,
I have not yet.
Nebraska?
I have.
And how is that done?
In the similar manner.
So you have your own personal NPI, correct?
I do.
And then each facility has their own facility NPI.
Yes.
Are you involved with billing or any of those matters?
No,
No, anything administrative?
no, I don't believe so.
Okay. Were we able to get a contract, Ms. Murray? No. So we wanted to look at the contract that you have. We were requesting one between you and Araya Care Partners because that was what was on the application. So apparently what we need is a contract to review between you and Dr. Streifels. That is one of the items on the application. Do you have one?
So I currently, because I'm not licensed yet in Kansas, we have not signed a contract at this point.
That was what the response I got from Area, or if I'm not pronouncing that right, that was that they currently did not have a contract because she had not been licensed, and so they could not provide one until she was licensed.
The catch-22.
It is. Mr. Resner, this is where legal counsel comes in. So we have the situation where the application requests a contract. There is no contract to review. It's based on getting the license. The license is based on reviewing the contract. So we've made a full circle.
Yeah, well, I mean, perhaps we can discuss having a contract, at least a draft provided. Do you think that'd be possible?
I don't see why not.
Okay, thank you. I'll open it up for questions from the other board members. Oh, excuse me. Is it Pingle? Let's let Dr. Pingle go ahead, proceed. Morning, Dr. Pingle.
Morning. I just had a quick question. Some of my colleagues and I were wondering if you could give some clarification on the letter you guys sent out a few weeks ago as far as if the mask mandate or recommendation has been relaxed a little bit to allow us to choose how we implement that in our office. There was some confusion as to whether or not, licenses were still at risk of being sanctioned if we reduced our mask wearing in offices, but there's some offices that are not requiring any masks, and there's some of us that are still fully masked, and we just need some clarification as to whether or not we are able to make that decision on a practice by practice basis now.
Dr. Pingle, we're currently discussing a reciprocity. Your question can be answered when that item on the agenda appears.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So moving on, are there any board members who have any questions for Dr. Shin?
Dr. Shin, Dr. Steifel's status as a licensee, is he licensed by the state of Kansas? Are you aware?
Yes.
Yes, he is. Okay, thank you very much.
Dr. Lozada?
Yes,
I did have some clarification, if I could, on practice in other states.
certainly.
Okay. Dr. Shin, I think we wanted to get an idea what the other states you have listed that you're licensed on in your application. Can you give us a little detail as far as the length of time that you've practiced in the state, the frequency that you practice in each state?
Sure.
I noted here you have not practiced in Oregon. I think the other states that it looks like you have history in is Colorado, Nebraska appear to be the two primary ones.
Yes.
Can you give us some idea as far as the length of time that you've been actively practicing there and the frequency in each state?
Certainly. So like you mentioned, Colorado is my primary state. And in that state, I practice what's considered full-time, which is 4 days a week, every week for 52 weeks of the year. And anytime I'm not practicing there, it's because I am traveling. I try to limit that just for my own sanity to once a month. And so that's why it kind of varies from month to month how frequently I could go to any state. Nebraska has been the most consistent. I believe I started that maybe around 2021, late 2021, simply just due to the changing landscapes of coronavirus. And that that state I visited about once every other month for a pretty consistent period of time until they asked for my presence in Tennessee. So I've been there a handful of times trying to help with their nursing homes as well. And then Washington just once.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Thank you, Dr. Shin.
Thank you.
You have a Washington license?
I do. So that one may or may not have been included because that one was just approved to be reinstated. Yeah, I had let it kind of lapse because I wasn't needed there for a while.
Yeah, it was not on the application,
Mhm.
but yeah, if it lapsed, that makes sense. Further discussion? Mr. Resner, is it possible to table an application contingent upon being able to review the contract?
Table or actually take action on it.
Both.
Yeah, I mean, it would be in the board's discretion. The timeframe applied through House Bill 2066 wouldn't apply to Dr. Shin. But I think you could make a contingent on a review of a proposed contract, which, I mean, I guess that's kind of an issue is when it may come together. I don't know if you have any insight on how quickly we could.
No, I mean, I assume fairly quickly because I assume that contract would not be any different, than any other state contract, except for just a couple of Kansas related items. So in my opinion, it could be done fairly quickly.
Yeah, there are some Kansas specific items that we would need to review. Like Mr. Resner is saying, in our statutes, there are time limits on applications, the status that they can have, et cetera.
Dr. Lazat, I think one thing you could consider would be, if you wanted to move forward today, some kind of a conditional status pending review of the contract, if that's how you want to proceed.
That's what I'm thinking. Is there any additional discussion from the board members? While I'm thinking of it, what is his name? I'm sorry, I don't know your name. You're helping us out with our equipment. Xavier, do you have someone online right now with the initials LD? No, okay, thank you. All right, so if there's no further discussion from the board members, do we have a motion?
No, I'm fine with making the motion. I'm trying to choose my words carefully because I don't want to mess this up. Tim, just for clarification, we can move for a conditional acceptance of a reciprocity.
Yeah, conditional approval subject to, if that's how you want to proceed, then I think state what it's subject to, review of employment agreement.
Okay, thank you. And then step on me if I get this wrong, please. But I will move for us to accept the reciprocity application for Dr. Shin, conditioned on her providing a copy of her draft agreement with the optometrist who's going to be employing her for practice here.
Do you also want to make it subject to a review of the agreement as well?
Yes, please.
Okay. So just to clarify, your motion would be to receive a copy and subject to the review of said agreement.
That would be my motion. Thank you for choosing my words more carefully than I did. And I'll second that motion.
So we have a motion and it's been seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Shin.
Thank you guys so much.
We're going to I'm going to make an assumption that our two visitors are here to speak. Am I correct? Or am I
These are the two
incorrect?
From KBI that you requested for the executive session.
That is correct, yes. Good morning. So we're going to make a change in the agenda. We are going to go into an executive session. The time is 9:09. Give me a moment, please.
Dr. Lozada, are you making a motion to go into executive session?
I am. I have a little statement. Here we go. Motion to enter into executive session in order to discuss a pending legal matter and legal questions, with the justification being consultation with the board's attorney, which would be deemed privileged under the attorney-client relationship, with open session resuming at 9:30. I am inviting two members. Are you both from KBI? I am inviting two members from KBI to join us to discuss KBI background checks and how it applies to KSA 65-1505 with specific examples. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries. We're in executive session until 9:30. All right, the time is 9:30. We're back in we're out of executive session, back in regular session. No decisions were made during the executive session. We were in the process of speaking with representatives of KBI, excuse me, and they were about to tell us about a new system. So please feel free to finish. If you want to go to, yep, it's better if you go to the podium so those who are online can hear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we have a new system, our new APHIS system will be up and running in about a year or so, maybe a little bit less than that. But right now what we do is we have what's called wrapback. And wrapback is it's another way of receiving any additional information once the person has gone through a background check. So you send in the fingerprint card and we process it. And if you sign up for wrapback, at the time of processing, they get enrolled into this program that we have. It's on our criminal history side. And from that point on forward, if there's anything that's added, changed to that person's criminal history, whether they have a criminal history or not, you will receive notification the next day. So if that person is arrested, then it comes in, it generates that wrapback, and then the next day you will receive it. So it's a way to kind of keep control of what's going on, because once you run that record check on that applicant, it's good that day. Because day forward, you have no idea what's happened, if anything's happened. Now, just to be clear on this, it's only Kansas. Currently, we only have Kansas information. So that would be if they were arrested in Kansas, or let's say that there's something out there that was pending and you didn't receive it because you're public information only. Let's say it was 2 years old and they finally go to court for it and they're now convicted of that. Now you're going to receive that information, even though you didn't the first time. You will now receive it because it's a conviction. Otherwise, you wouldn't receive it unless you ran another record check on that person, a full record check.
That is a great system.
Yeah, so that is in place currently, and currently it's Kansas only. Once we get, there's a fee involved. The first year is free. So let's say that Jan sends us a record check. Let's say you sign up for wrapback. Jan sends us a record check next week. We process it. They enroll it into wrapback. So this is July. So in June of 23, Jan would receive notification that this is getting ready to expire. She would then tell us, nope, keep it on there because they're still licensed in the state of Kansas and we still want to know. So keep it on there. We would then bill you $3 for the next calendar year for that person. 12 months, you get, 12 months, you get, it's $3. And again, in the 11th month, Jan will be asked again, do you want to keep this person on? So each time Jan sends us a record check, so she could be having 1 a month, 2 a month, 3 a month, depending on when they get sent into us to process.
Right.
So that's how that works. And right now it's $3 a year. The first year is free. After that's $3 a year per applicant. It would definitely be day forward. So from now forward, if you do want to get started in that, then you would need to contact Christy Carter. And you know that, Jan, don't you?
We currently are enrolled in wrapback.
You are in wrapback?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that. Oh, perfect.
No, this board knows we're in that, but
Oh, okay, well, good. You guys are in that.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
So
we're in that.
Okay,
June
awesome.
and July are my biggest months to go through the list.
Awesome. Okay, so now what's even better, you're already enrolled. So once we get our new APHIS system hooked up and going in about a year, I'm hoping less than that. A year from that, this is what our IT people are saying. So we'll see. We have to do some programming, but we will then be able to also have you enroll in federal ratback. So that is coming. So I could see a year and a half, 2 years down the road, you will also be able to enroll in federal ratback, not just Kansas. So then you would also receive anything that's happened in any other state.
I would say to the board that is being enrolled in the federal program would resolve a lot of problems. That would make our lives much easier.
So
And
again,
yours.
yes. Again, if there's any update to that federal record, then you would receive a response as well. We right now, we don't know exactly how that's going to happen, of course, because we're not currently doing the federal rat back because our system is too old. But once we get that new system in place, then we are going to allow everybody whoever wants to get enrolled in federal.
Yeah, and that answers our questions. That is exactly the situation that we have been finding ourselves in.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
I want to thank you. This
you're
has been extremely helpful.
You're welcome.
We are very glad that you came, and
No problem.
that was excellent information.
Thank you. And Jan, anytime, you can reach out to myself or Molly, either one. So awesome. Oh yeah, no problem. That's what we're here for. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. It's 9:37. I'm going to say let's take a 10-minute break, reconvening at 9:47. Time is 9:47. Board meeting is back in session. As I mentioned at the start, there was going to be quite a bit of moving around of the agenda due to circumstances. So we have actually already completed our executive session, and we were finishing up my report. We were in the process of discussing Acumen Assessments, which was the organization that reviews licensees who've had their license suspended, revoked, some sort of disciplinary action. And I did want to mention that there was one other circumstance where Acumen Assessments could be contacted, and that's in the situation where the ability, mental ability of the practitioner was in question. So they handle not just substance abuse and criminal convictions, but also issues that may arise that are age-related, physical ability, etc. Moving on, I have a question for the board members. So this is open for discussion. What is the opinion of the board if we share our practical examination with the national board so that they can get an idea as to how our examination is run?
Have they requested it?
They have not. They have not, but I am a consultant with them, and rather than show them questions, I wanted to discuss with the board members.
So
No, this would be providing it so that they have an example of how our state board operates and what it is that we're looking for. Not at all. They're in the process of rewriting their portion of the examination, and they don't have a lot of examples to work from. There's not a lot of states that have a similar type of examination. And they may not even want it. I mean, I just, before I even offered it, I wanted to bring this topic up.
So, Dr. DeAndo, one of the things that National Board is looking at doing is, as Dr. Lozada said, is that they are, of the 3 sections of the National Board examination, they're revamping Part 3. And from what we have been told of this change of Part 3, it will be much more similar to the types of questions that we ask during the practical examination that will occur for this group of applicants tomorrow morning. And so I think where Dr. Lozada is headed here, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is to give them kind of a jumping from point in their own search to refine and to create this new Part 3 of the examination. That being said, and this is just my personal opinion, if they can create a better mousetrap for Part 3 that would be more in line with what we are looking for, then I think that would definitely streamline the process of application for future optometrists wanting to be licensed in the state of Kansas. So, for my 2 cents worth, and that's all that it is just my opinion. I think that it would behoove us to work in concert with NBEO to come up with a Part 3 that does do what we're wanting it to do. Now, I have some reservations, I'll be honest, Dr. Lozada, that our examination, I don't want to see I don't want to see it become a political football.
The way that I'm looking at this is just to let them look at some of the questions that they get parameters as to how the cases are developed, how the questions are asked. They don't have experience in doing that. The national board has been more like individual questions as opposed to a group of questions that are common to one individual. But this is something new for them. And so that's the idea is this is a case, here's the information we provide, this is what we ask, and this is how we ask it.
I would just suggest tread lightly into that water.
I could share like one case with them and see what happens.
I'd say that sounds reasonable.
Okay. Dr. Deonda? Thank you. Moving on, this is an item for Mr. Resner, see what he may know about this. It's been mentioned to me that there is a lawsuit involving the driver's license forms and how they are currently distributed by the DMV. There's a liability issue that has arisen from my understanding. My question to you is, are you aware of this? And I tried to find information on it. I could not. I'll let you answer the first question.
No, I'm not aware of the lawsuit you're referencing.
Thank you. My second question is, are there statutes that might apply here?
With respect to?
With respect to liability of the practitioner for signing a driver's license form for a person who should not have had a driver's license.
Dr. Lozada, I think there was something that just passed in last year that in legislature and that Todd may know more about.
Okay, we have a member of the public who could probably shed some light. Mr. Fleischer.
So there was a situation where there was a case pending. It has been settled, I believe. However, based on that issue that popped up, we did pass legislation this year to fix or basically provide liability protection for optometrists and ophthalmologists who fill out the vision form. Specifically, there were a couple pieces to it. One of them was that on the form it indicated that they were mentioning or they were attesting that the driver was safe to operate a motor vehicle. The change is actually that they're basically providing information about their vision because the DMV is the one that actually licenses the individual, not the optometrist. So the optometrists and ophthalmologists are just providing information about vision. So they're being asked questions about that individual's vision that they're providing to the DMV. And then they in turn will issue the license. And so the liability, they're not liable for information that they're providing based on the findings of their exam. And also they're not liable for information or anything that changes after the date of their exam. So if they come to see you on a Monday and then on Friday they have a retinal detachment, that's the optometrist is not liable for that information. So that bill did pass and it went into effect upon signature of the governor, or upon publication in the register. So it's actually in place now. We are working with the DMV, though, however, to update the vision form. The form still is reflecting some of the old language, and they're in the process of doing that now and working with our legal counsel. So we're still kind of working through the kinks of it, but as far as the statutory fix has been made, there is also the chance that we may need to go in and adjust rules and regs and work with the department to do that because the regs require certain things on the form. So we're working with the department to help provide whatever tools they need to do for that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So it sounds like the matter is in the process of being resolved. Next item on the agenda is a mass guidance update. Is Dr. Pringle still joining us remotely? Dr. Pringle, I'm going to ask that you submit your... Oh, that's, send him an email, ask him to submit his question electronically, and we'll give him a written answer. So the next item was mass guidance update. Open for discussion as we go through another wave of a highly infectious variant, correct?
At this point, and Dr. Deanda, help me out here if I'm getting something wrong, please. I don't believe that the CDC has changed any information regarding their recommendations for healthcare practitioners. I'm going to double check here real quick to find out. Presuming that the information is still the same from the CDC, and particularly in light of this newer variant that appears to be even more highly communicable than its predecessors, it would be my feeling that the current guidance doesn't require any adjustments.
Thank you, Dr. Sparks.
So I think, and I can maybe be able to speak for Dr. Pingle, his question was, in one paragraph, you state that you're not mandating the mask mandate. And then the very next paragraph, you say, if you don't follow CDC, then you can be disciplined. And he's just wanting to know whether or not they can lax or not lax, that was his question, because your last order was confusing. So.
So what we are looking for is to recommend that the licensees follow the guidance. Everything is going to be done on a case-by-case basis wherever there is a complaint. We have 3 new complaints, one on Monday regarding insufficient source control measures. And the reason that we have the reason that it's written the way that it is that there are issues with find my wording here. Board is looking at standard of care issues. Yeah, our offices doing what they can to prevent the spread. So what we'll do is let's ask Dr. Pingle to submit his questions. We can answer his questions specifically. Each practice is probably going to have some variations, but I would be happy to answer anything that he may have. So at this point, is it the board's opinion to leave things as is and then answer Dr. Pingle's question? I can take care of that, Dr. Sparks.
That would be great, Dr. Lozada, because apparently I'm still having a problem locating the healthcare professionals portions. Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Deanda.
Moving on, next item is report of the vice president. That will be tabled. Next is the report of the secretary treasurer. We have LD joining remotely. Okay, that item will be tabled as well.
Dr. Lozada?
All right, I said that incorrectly. LD is member at large, so her item will be tabled. Secretary Treasurer report. Dr. Sparks, my apologies.
I believe Jan had something she needed from you, Dr. Lozada, first.
Yes.
Oh, you were just correcting the order? Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So the folks at COPE issued a bulletin on May 9th of this year, extending the transition period for what they previously have called interactive online CE. As a result of COVID, they had extended the approval of all interactive online CE to be considered live by COPE. And that extension, most recent extension, had been through June 30. The council has agreed to extend the transition period now until the end of this calendar year, so December 31. The question that I would have before the board is, do we want to continue to match the COPE standard of recognizing interactive live CE as live CE? So essentially that as long as a person who is obtaining the continuing education has the ability to pose questions and discussions with the person who is providing the continuing education, that the location of the person providing the education and the locating the person receiving the education is not relevant to the question of whether it's live.
So you're proposing that we follow the COPE, current COPE.
It is my proposal that we accept the COPE acceptance for live interactive CE, what they will in future times be calling synchronous continuing education. That we continue to accept that as live CE through the end of the calendar year to match the COPE recommendation.
I would agree. Do we need to make a motion on this, Mr. Resner?
I mean, Dr. Sparks, you're referencing, live through the internet, right? Streaming presentations.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I mean, I think you do have a limitation in your regulation. Programs presented through the internet, which is something I think to take into consideration.
The limitation is the number of hours.
Correct.
And if I understood your statement, it was that essentially you would deem those internet courses live, and so then not subject to the limitation and the regulation.
Correct. We had agreed from the onset of the pandemic back in the spring of 2020 to accept these internet-based courses as long as they were being presented at the same time as, forgive me, I'm poorly wording it, that the courses were being presented at the same time as the person viewing the course, so that the person viewing the course would have the ability to pose questions and discussions with the presenter, that we would deem those as live courses for the purposes of continuing education requirements for relicensure. The board has continued to follow the COPE, essentially moving this date forward of how long we would continue to allow that to occur as a result of the challenges associated with obtaining continuing education in person as a result of the pandemic. So at this point, my proposal is that we continue to allow that to occur through the end of the year as the Council of Optometry Practitioner Education has allowed it as well. I agree with you. We have a challenge back and forth between the what's in the statutes from that limitation standard, but also what's in the interest of protecting the health, not only of the patients that we serve, but also the optometrists in the state of Kansas as well.
It may be a good subject then to consider, an amendment to the regulation, because I think that is a limitation that, that treating it that way faces. Yeah.
I think you and I are on the same page about that, Mr. Resner.
Just to add a little bit of extra information, this came about because the renewal period ends on May 31, and there's a lot of continuing education in the spring, and it was all live presentations were canceled starting in March of 2020, which would leave a lot of individuals unable to renew their license. And at first, the legislature extended renewal dates. I believe the original extension was to August 31st and then to June 30th, and then it went back to May 31st. So we had to come up with a way for people to get their continuing education and renew. Dr. Deanda, any discussion?
And back to your question, I mean, I suppose it's some kind of a continuing waiver of the regulation, and you've communicated that to your licensees, and we'll continue to communicate it to them. Okay.
So it would just be an update on the website or motion?
I believe we've had motions at previous meetings regarding the subject. So just in the interest of keeping it clear, I think that we should continue to do that. Based on that, I'll make a motion that we follow the COPE transition period for interactive online CE to allow interactive online CE to be considered as live CE for the purposes of relicensure requirements through December 31, 2022.
I will second the motion.
Dr. Sparks, can I ask a clarification question?
Yes, sir.
And is that specific to only these COPE interactive programs, or just any live streamed internet course qualifies under your under the board's action?
In any course that is presented in what would be considered a live interactive format would fall underneath that requirement.
Okay. Thank you.
So the motion has been brought forward and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Anything else, Dr. Sparks, in your report?
Yes, sir.
So at this point, we are scheduled to have a break at 10:30. It is 10:10. I suggest that we continue moving on.
Dr. Lozada, I was going to say, I think you skipped over Dr. Deanda's opportunity to present.
Did I?
Yes.
I did. I am not following very well all of a sudden. My apology. Dr. Deanda. Certainly. I need a bigger font. That's all I can say. I need to do something to know where I'm at. I think we'll go ahead and go to report of the legal counsel with the understanding that in 20 minutes we'll take a break because I'll need to leave the room for a little bit. So there are 4 stipulations on the agenda. Let me go to the first one.
Do we have any of the licensees present today?
Let's look at Dr. Wise first, since he's been waiting. Okay, thank you, Jan. All right. Members of the board, we will call the case titled in the matter of Thomas McCarthy OD, Jason Eubank OD, and Brett D. Wise OD. The Kansas State Board of Examiners in Optometry, case number 2022-08. This is before you for the purpose of giving consideration to a proposed stipulation and final agency order. The investigative board member on this matter was Dr. Sparks. Dr. Sparks will be recusing herself, which I believe means that we do not have a quorum.
That is exact.
This is a CAPA proceeding. And so technically the Open Meeting Act requirement of a quorum is not required. But the decision makers here are going to be you and Dr. Deonda.
All right, then we can proceed. The respondent, Dr. Wise, is participating virtually. Mr. Resner, if you wish to proceed, please.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Lozada. The facts that the parties have stipulated to are as follows. This issue was caught up in the board's trade name audit that was recently conducted. The practice in this case, Eye Care Associates of Wichita, through Dr. Eubanks, were previously approved for a trade name at their Hillsdale location in Wichita. In 2019, they began using the trade name at a location on the west side of Wichita. The trade name approval is specific to locations, and the practice did not obtain approval for the west side location. That's the issue that was flagged in the trade name. We've named Doctors McCarthy, Eubanks, and Dr. Wise in this case as the officers of the practice. The violation that has been identified relates to KSA 6515-2022 and KAR 65-9-1 relating to the use of a trade name at a location not approved by the board. We do note in the stipulation that the practice, at least how it came to our attention, was the use on the website and identifying the time period through which they've opened the location. The proposed resolution here is a fine of $600 that breaks out to $200 per year. It's been a 3-year use. We also are suggesting a approval, which we've made it conditional, of the trade name for the west location because they've used it at a previous location and due to the length of time the practice has been established. And so on that, I would move for approval of the stipulation and consent order as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Resner. Dr. Wise, you have an opportunity to make a statement at this time in regards to the stipulation and final order. And after that, Dr. Deonda or myself may have questions for you. If you wish to make a statement, you may do so now. So Dr. Wise may not be able to speak at this moment. We cannot ask any questions of Dr. Wise, but Dr. Deonda, do you have any questions of Dr. Sparks?
So it's been since 2019 that they've been using.
Yes.
So what we're saying is that we find them, but let them keep using the name.
Yeah, it's keeping a similar resolution to past stipulations that, I mean, essentially more harm would be done if they were not allowed to keep using the name.
Certainly.
May I make one comment?
Certainly.
All of the stipulations that are on the agenda also have the trade name applications to be approved later on. So
I don't have any questions. Dr. Deonda, do you have any questions of Mr. Resner?
Nothing more from my end.
All right, at this time, I'm going to make a motion to accept the stipulation and final agency order in regards to case number 2022-08. And you'll second. In favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. I believe we're complete.
And I have the order for you to sign, Dr. Lozada.
Thank you. Next. Members of the board, we will call the case titled in the matter of Feng Bui before the Kansas State Board of Examiners in Optometry, case number 2022-06. This is before you for purposes of giving consideration to proposed stipulation and final agency order. The investigative board member on this matter was Dr. Sparks. Dr. Sparks will be recusing herself. I believe Dr. Bui does not appear virtually. Is that correct? Mr. Resner, if you wish to proceed.
The facts of the stipulation and final agency order are summarized as follows. Dr. Bowie in 2015 obtained approval for the trade name Bowie Eye Care at a location on West 21st Street in Wichita. He was notified, just as the other respondents in this case, that the approval is limited to the location identified on the application. That was a notice that the board provided and consistently provides. Again, this issue was caught in the trade name audit performed by the board. And on further investigation, it was discovered that Dr. Bowie has used the trade name Bowie Eye Care at a location on North Rock Road in Wichita since December of 2017. And further, has used the name at a different location on 21st Street in Wichita, which opened in November of 2018. Again, the facts support violations of KSA 65-1522 and KAR 65-9-1, which relate to the use of a trade name at a specific location. The proposed resolution in this case is an administrative fine in the amount of $1,400. Again, focusing on the $200 fine per year of use. Conditional approval, subject again to the board's consideration of the trade name later today. Conditional approval of the trade name for the two locations up to the date of today's meeting. And on that, I would move for approval of the proposed stipulation and final agency order.
Thank you, Mr. Resner. Dr. Bowie is not joining us. So at this time, are there any questions in this matter to Dr. Sparks? Are there any questions for Mr. Resner?
I have a question. So is it 200 per year per site?
Yes. Yeah, that's the way this particular one breaks out. Yes.
Any other questions?
No other questions from me.
Thank you. At this point, I am going to make a motion to accept the stipulation and final agency order in the matter of Feng Bui, case number 2022-06. Do we have a second? We have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Members of the board, we will call the case in the matter of Cole Smart OD before the Kansas State Board of Examiners in Optometry, case number 2022-07. This is before you for the purpose of giving consideration to a proposed stipulation and final agency order. The The investigative board member on this matter was Dr. Sparks, who will be recusing herself from participating in the deliberation. Is Dr. Cole Smart participating virtually? He is not. Thank you. Mr. Resner, if you wish to proceed.
The facts of the proposed stipulation and final agency order are summarized as follows. This issue, again, was caught up in the board's trade name audit, which revealed that Dr. Smart has used the trade name Smart Family Vision at a location on Wanamaker Road here in Topeka since 2019 without board approval. No approval has ever been sought for that particular name. Dr. Smart has submitted an application for approval and agreed to the stipulation. And, on that, it, again, supports violations of 65-1522 and KAR 6591 relating to use of the name at an unapproved location. Based on the 3 years, we've agreed to administrative fine of $600 and, similar to the others, a conditional approval up to the date of today's meeting, and then subject to the board's later consideration of the trade name application. And on that, I'd request approval of the stipulation as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Resner. Dr. Smart is not participating at this moment. Dr. Deonda, do you have any questions of Dr. Sparks? Of Mr. Resner? In that case, I would like to make a motion to pass the stipulation and final agency order in the matter of Cole Smart OD, case number 2022-07. Do we have a second? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Dr. Lozada, if I may, and this is after the fact, never mind. It's an issue that I think I can address when the trade name comes up.
Okay, thank you. Members of the board, we will call the case titled in the matter of Michael Hatton OD and Nicholas Mondero OD before the Kansas State Board of Optometry, Kansas State Board of Examiners in Optometry. Case number 2022-09. This is before you for purpose of giving consideration to a proposed stipulation and final agency order. The investigative board member on this matter was Dr. Sparks, who will be recusing herself. Are either Dr. Hatton or Mondero joining us virtually? They are not. Mr. Resner, please proceed.
The facts are summarized as follows. Again, this issue was caught in the board's trade name audit that was recently performed. Dr. Hatton has submitted a trade name application for approval of Hatton and Mondero Family Eye Care. It was discovered that that name or Family Eye Care has been used at their location in Hays, Kansas, since at least the beginning of 2020 without seeking board approval for the trade name. Supports a violation of KSA 65-1522 and KAR 6591 for use of the trade name without approval. Roughly a 2-year period of time. And so on that, we've agreed to a administrative fine of $400 and, similar to the others, a conditional approval of the trade name up until today's meeting, and then subject to the board's consideration of the trade name application later today. And on that, I'd request approval.
Thank you, Mr. Resner. Neither Dr. Hatton or Mondero is joining us at this time. Dr. Deonda, do you have any questions of Dr. Sparks? Do you have any questions of Mr. Resner? In that case, I'll propose a motion to accept the stipulation and final agency order in the matter of Michael Hatton OD and Nicholas Mondero OD, case number 2209. Do we have a second? We have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries. It is 10:27. At 10:30, I will need to leave the room for a few minutes, and the plan is to reconvene at 10:45. So I believe we can start that break 3 minutes early. Oh, excuse me. We have a question. Sure. We're going to use those 3 minutes wisely and allow a public comment. Yes. Just information for now, and then we'll look at that.
The determination about what practices best to use in their office following the guidelines. But I guess we're trying to determine, and we would like some clarification maybe to members or to licensees, so that they understand sort of what your expectations are, whether it is truly community-based, so that if all the other providers in the community are doing the same kind of thing, that's kind of the standard of care, or if you're thinking more of a statewide level, or kind of what the recommendations are. And I know it's a evolving situation, and right now the numbers are going higher, but I think that there has been a lot of confusion after the last statement went out. And I think I was just echoing what Jan said, that maybe if there's some clarification that we could provide, I think it would free up me and Jan as well with the questions we're getting. So again, the other thing I wanted to kind of circle back on to Mr. Resner's comment about the requirement or the ability to go to live stream with live. We actually had our legal counsel review that because we wanted to know what that possibility was. And our legal counsel actually believes that live meant in person, and that the ability for the board to change that sort of is in regulation, that have to be a regulation change. You were able to do it during the emergency order, but once that emergency order expired. So just something for you to consider as you're looking at that. I don't know that I'm not an attorney, so, but it's something we actually researched a little bit to find out so that we could kind of plan our events. And there was that discussion that ability for the board to deviate from what the regulations are expired after the emergency order expired. So just something for you to consider, that was, because I think we were consistent with what Mr. Resner was saying, that the way it's determined in our regulations right now, that live would mean in person rather than live streamed. So anyway, I just wanted to share that and give you our perspective on that. So,
Thank you. Those are excellent points.
all right, thank you very much.
It's 10:30, and I believe I'm actually leaving with Todd. So we will reconvene at 10:45. Let's reconvene. My apologies for being a little bit late. I had to run to a different floor. At this point, we're going to have the report of the executive officer.
So we're going to start out with trade names. And the first one is for Dr. Schwinn, and he's got 2 locations. One of them, 3300 Iowa Street, Lawrence. The other one, 5701 Silver Hill Street in Shawnee. And he's got 3 choices. He wants C-Smart Vision Clinic, C-Smart Vision Center, or C-Smart Vision.
Any discussion?
Jan, is the name C Smart used anywhere else within the state of Kansas right now, to the best of your knowledge?
To the best of my knowledge, not. But I can double check if you would like.
No, ma'am. I will rely upon your knowledge any day and all day long.
Do we have a motion?
I'll move we approve C Smart Vision Clinic for Dr. Schwint at his locations in Lawrence, Shawnee, and Bonner Springs.
Oh, I missed Bonner. Sorry. I had it on there, but I missed.
Okay, cool. I will second that.
Motion seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries.
And I just looked. No. The next one is for Dr. Smart. Is he on the call? I thought maybe he might join us. And that might. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, let him in.
Hello and welcome to the committee. Can you identify yourself?
Oh, hello. Sorry, can you say that again?
Could you identify yourself?
Cole Smart.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Smart. This is Jan. We
Good
got
morning.
a little ahead of the schedule, and so the board's already approved your stipulation. We're just now on your trade name, and it's for Smart Family Vision
Oh, great. Okay, thank you.
on Wanamaker Road in Topeka.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Any discussion from the board members?
Dr. Liz, I do have one comment.
Yes, please.
With respect to Dr. Smart, he is, you'll note in the packet that there's a proposed amendment to his articles, and also he's requested a certificate of good standing from Jan. And he has taken advantage of the board's amnesty and converting his LLC, or at least stating in his articles, a professional purpose. And so on that, he's satisfied the request to do that, and I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Thank you.
Mr. Resner, with that information, Dr. Smart's, all of Dr. Smart's information is complete for the purposes of the trade name. Is that correct?
Yes. As far as my review, yes, that was one of the issues that I had asked that he address, and he has, and it's procedurally, once he has the certificate from Jan, when you approve the name, then he can attach that to his amended articles and file it with the Secretary of State. And so I think for the purpose of, and to be consistent with how we treated others in a similar situation, if you approve his trade name, condition it on him filing the amendment once he receives his certificate of good standing. It's kind of a chicken and the egg situation we found ourselves in, and I think that's the best resolution. You will file the amendment, but just condition it on filing the amendment so that we're sure that it happens.
And with that, I'll move that we approve the trade name of Smart Family Vision for Dr. Smart with the stipulation of the completion of the necessary documentation after he has filed with the Secretary of State.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say nay. Motion carries.
One final comment, I've worked with Dr. Smart. He will be in tomorrow morning to pick up his certificates. I
Oh.
kind of did them ahead of time, hoping that you would approve the name. So we'll
Excellent.
probably be filing it Monday morning if I'm correct.
Thank you.
So the next one I have is for Thang Bowie for Bowie Eye Care on Rock Road and Bowie Eye Care West on 21st Street, both in Wichita. And these goes back up to the stipulations that you have approved already.
Discussion?
Mr. Resner, there weren't any other requirements that needed to be met for Dr. Bowie. Is that correct?
That's correct. As far as we can tell, I think he's just a sole proprietor. He's not, no entity associated with the practice.
With that, I'll move that we accept the trade name of Bowie Eye Care at the locations on Rock Road and West 21st Street in Wichita for Dr. Bowie.
We have a second.
I second.
Motion moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries.
The next one on my list is Dr. Hatton in Hayes for Hatton and Mondero Family Eye Care or Family Eye Care Michael A. Hatton OD and Nicholas E. Mondero OD.
Discussion?
And this one is also one of the stipulations you just approved.
My apologies for asking the same question again, Mr. Resner. Just confirming, though, that we have all of the necessary documentation has been completed to the best of your knowledge.
Yes, it has, and I think Dr. Sparks actually in the stipulation, and I guess it's their first choice, but I just would point out that they had agreed to conditional approval for Hatton and Mondero Family Eye Care. I don't know that there would be an issue if you all would choose to go with their second choice, but that was the name that we agreed to conditional approval.
And this trade name application was actually from the first of the year. So
the name that they're requesting approval for is Hatton and Mondero Family Eye Care. Is that correct? Then I will move that we approve Hatton and Mondero Family Eye Care for Doctors Hatton and Mondero.
And I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries.
and the last trade name I have is for Dr. Wise McCarthy and for Eye Care Associates of Wichita on Mays Road it's an additional location. And for some reason, I don't have Dr. Eubank on the app, or I missed it completely when I was filling this out. One of the two.
Discussion?
And Dr. Eubank is not listed on the application itself. I'll move we approve the name Eye Care Associates of Wichita for Doctors Wise and McCarthy for their additional location on Mays Road in Wichita.
And I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Next step on my list is the reciprocity application for Dr. Vinecki. Is he still online? Dr. Vinecki is online, so.
Thank you.
I'm here.
Hello, Dr. Vinecki.
Hello.
Hi there. Are you joining us by phone or computer?
By computer.
Oh, there you are. Hello.
Hello.
Dr. Vinecki, I'm Gerard Lozada, I'm President of State Board. Present, we also have Dr. Rebecca Sparks, Secretary Treasurer, Dr. Deanda, Public Member.
Nice to meet you all.
Good to meet you. Have a few questions for you. Mr. Resner, one of the questions is going to require executive session.
A question for
Dr.
Dr. Vinecki?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So motion to enter into executive session in order to discuss a legal question with justification being consultation with the board's attorney, which would be deemed privilege under the attorney-client privilege, with open session resuming at 11:13. I am going to invite Dr. Vinecki to join us in the session.
Dr. Lozada, are you also wanting to discuss confidential information?
Yes, that is the purpose.
Okay. You might also add that to your motion just to clarify.
Okay. So to consult with the board attorney, and what was the term that you used? Privileged information?
And to review confidential information, or to maintain the confidentiality of Dr. Vinecki.
To maintain the confidential information of Dr. Vinecki. All in favor? So that's the motion. Do we have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. If you could please put us in executive session. Yes, we are. 11:13. All right, we're back in open session. I've got a few other questions for you, Dr. Vanacki. In your initial application, the only license you listed was Oklahoma. In the second application, the corrected version, I'm sorry. So yes, we're back in open session. On your second application, the Nebraska license was listed. Could you please explain to us how that omission occurred? Is he online?
Oops, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I applied for my Nebraska license and my Iowa license. So I just gotten approved for my Nebraska license, and right now I've also been approved for my Iowa license as well. What I'm doing is I'm working with the same like what Dr. Shin was for the ARIA Care partners. So we travel. So I've been last couple months going to Nebraska, but that's where that license came from there.
When were you aware of your license in Nebraska?
Probably about a month or two ago. I think it was before the initial application, but after the second. Because I'd applied for it, but I hadn't been approved for it yet on the initial application.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
We also asked for a physical location where you plan to practice. On the first application, the answer was various. I traveled to different nursing homes in Oklahoma and Kansas. And then on the second one is an office building in Overland Park.
Yeah, the ARIA Care is that's the office they have listed for their Kansas location. But yes, I'm just going to be traveling to different nursing homes, usually once a week or once a month or so. So I didn't really have an actual address to the different nursing homes.
We also noticed that in your initial application, the references, if I'm correct, none of them were optometrists?
No, I don't. Yeah, I didn't see. I guess I just overread the part where they had to be optometrist. Usually, one of them I think was my office manager at a optometry office, and then the other two were, or both two of them were optometrist assistants, and then one was an office manager.
On the second application, 3 different individuals appear as references. Are any of them optometrists?
Yes, or well, actually, Dr. Bilardo is he's an ophthalmologist, but that's who I've been working with. And then the other was I'm not sure who. I don't know the name of the other.
Wadsworth and
but-
Lewis.
Okay, Dr. Wadsworth is an optometrist. Yes.
And Mike Lewis is
Mike Lewis is an office manager.
he's an administrator. Okay, so we have one optometrist, one ophthalmologist, and a member of the public. There were actually no, that portion of the application was not completed. There was no signature on their part that they attested as to your abilities for the reference portion. All that we have is their names.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I gave him the paper to fill out and send in.
None of them did so.
Then okay, I can get those.
Also, we would requested a contract. We received the same contract twice, and it's for a different organization in Oklahoma. It's not for the organization that you said you would be employed with in Kansas.
The Kansas one, they haven't, they won't give me a contract until I get the license. So that's my Oklahoma contract of ARIA Care.
Okay.
And it's actually under Dr. Inslow. That's who that contract is under. But she's the optometrist that's in charge of the ARIA for Oklahoma.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
At this point, I'm going to allow other board members to ask questions.
I don't have any additional questions.
I don't have any additional questions either.
Okay. Dr. Vanacki, let me ask this question of Mr. Resner first before I continue. Without references, this application is incomplete. Is that correct?
The revised application?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the way I'd look at it is he did provide 3 references, or at least the written portion was returned with respect to the first application. We did point that out, so the other members are aware. We did point that out through a letter to Dr. Vanacki. But that's correct on the revised application. I think we do have something in writing from Mike Lewis, the administrator, but Jan, unless there's something else, I don't think there's been anything from Doctors Bellardo and Wadsworth. Sorry if I didn't directly answer your question.
Oh, you did. You did. At this point, we're open for a motion. Mr. Resner and I got into this discussion about the references because they are a requirement. They're a requirement of the application. All applicants have put them on their forms. So even though there are names, it's not sufficient. It's not what the application requests. Additionally, there was quite a few errors in both applications. Board put a lot of effort into trying to figure out what was going on, trying to get everything together. I would say it's an incomplete application, despite having been filled out twice. I would make a motion to reject the reciprocity of Dr. Vanacki based on the applications as submitted.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Vanacki.
Thank you.
My apologies. You can contact Jan Murray if you like to see what your next step would be.
Okay.
And as was written to you in the letter from Mr. Resner to carefully complete your application.
Okay.
Dr. Lozada.
Yes.
And I assume this is a situation where we'll provide him with a written order relating to the denial.
That's correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Vanecki.
All right. Thank you.
So the last thing I have on my agenda is the 24-25 budgets. Starting next month, I will be working on the FY 24 and 25 budgets. I know we discussed at the last meeting to make sure that I had included in the budget for my successor to have time to shadow with me. I didn't know if there was anything else different that you wanted me to put in the 24-25 budgets. Other than that,
I don't have anything that I can think of at this point, Jan.
okay. Yeah, because it is due probably before the board meets again.
Was there a problem with having sufficient funds up to June 31st this last year?
No.
Okay. Arbo is the same time. It's always the same time.
It's always the same time. And I have, or working on getting the funds encumbered to pay for the give me, just went blank, the registration fees for Arbo. And then when it gets closer time and we figure out who's going, then we can figure out the travel loss and the expenses to get those encumbered as well. So we make sure we have the funds available for those who want to attend.
Okay. I will go ahead and say that at the last Arbo meeting, I was quite surprised at how many of the state boards had their attorney present with them. At the minimum, it was 5, which surprised us quite a bit. And so I personally believe that's a good idea. I think we can offer that invitation. Let's see how it pans out. You know, perhaps it's something of interest to legal counsel, perhaps it's not, but I think it's a potential opportunity to see what happens on the nationwide level. Jan, how much of an increase did we go with having a person shadowing you? Was it a significant percentage?
I honestly have not figured it out yet.
Okay.
It's kind of hard to do outside of the budget system.
Oh,
so it's just easier to do it inside the budget. And it truthfully, it all depends on when they start, how soon they can start, how long of a transition period it is. Right now, I'm figuring off the top of my head, they need to start no later than May for renewals. And then depending on who it is, June or July, depending on what date the exam is for that year. And then hopefully they can take on the budget themselves and I can disappear into the sunset.
When are you looking to do that?
August 1 would be really nice.
August 1 of
2025. July 1 would be even better, but like I said, it all depends. When I started in April, and Penny worked part-time with me until October, which got me through renewals, the exam, the budget, and all that other fun stuff. And then she left in October. She was only working a couple of days a week.
This individual would be one full-time equivalent?
Yes.
Okay. So long as the legislature is aware it's a one-time expense.
Yep.
And it was a one-time expense when you and Penny worked together as well.
Right. Yeah. And it does show up in the expense reports that the legislature does look at. Because I was in a budget hearing and they happened to notice that payroll was more expensive one year versus the next. And I had to explain to them that was what the situation was.
Okay. Thank you. How many licensees do we have as of today? 727, 728?
Like that. If you want to give me a minute, I can look.
No, just kind of curious.
Yeah, it's over 700, like 7.
We were in the 720s for quite a while.
Yeah. Well, And I just expired and retired a bunch
Oh,
July 1. And so when I get the new ones added, it'll adjust up again.
okay. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is comments from the public. If there's any members of the public who would like to make a comment, we have 3 minutes per speaker.
And I know sending out emails, there was one that wanted to know exactly what time we were doing comments. And so she may not be on the line yet.
Okay, we can return to that.
You can go on to figuring out the next meetings because I have been getting inquiries on when you're meeting again and not just from Dr. Lozada. One thing I have just received within the last week, 2 applications that will come in under the House bill that will need to be expedited within 45 days after receiving the completed application. As of right now, I think the only item I am missing is 1 transcript and then the actual fingerprint cards I've gotten everything else from. So the clock's going to start ticking fairly soon on those.
Okay, thank you. So 45 days is, let me see. That's going to be in September. That we normally meet in October. We'll need to have a Teams meeting at some point to get them done. Dr. Sparks, is your official last day tomorrow?
My official last day is when Governor Kelly decides to reappoint my position.
Okay.
I have made the offer to continue my presence on the board until Governor Kelly sees fit to replace me. I don't, excuse me, particularly in light of our current challenges with 2 of our members out. I don't want to have this board be in a position where they're challenged to have enough members to make decisions. So
Right.
I'm going to continue to keep my position until she makes that determination.
Good, good. Thank you. So we will be at some point have a Teams meeting when these applications are complete. Hopefully Dr. Sparks will join us. We will see. So the next meeting would be in October. Have we've been typically meeting on Mondays, is that correct?
You've been switching it up between Mondays and Wednesdays. I think
and
Monday mornings, Wednesday afternoons, I think, or vice versa that.
Do either of the board members have a preference, morning, afternoon?
My preference is for Wednesday afternoons, but that's just for me personally.
Dr. Deonda?
Depending on the Wednesday, I can make the Wednesday afternoon work.
Does any Wednesday look better for you than another? Or do you have to just wait until your schedule is?
For me, the 12th is the best Wednesday of October. But I know you had some trouble too.
So we're moving down the line.
Yeah, I'm actually traveling that day.
3 out of 4 is not bad. Mr. Resner?
That looks good for me.
All right. October 26th at 1 in the afternoon. The items that we tabled today we'll discuss at that time. We're going to pay a little bit more attention to the rules and regulations. We put that on the back burner due to other issues that have taken priority. Well, at 12 is the recess for the examinations. Is there anything else on your schedule, Ms. Murray? Because if not, I would like to revisit the previous topic.
Previous topic of, oh, we have a public member that just joined us.
Oh, okay. In that case, let's let the public member speak. Ms. Myers. Ms. Myers, welcome. Are you able to hear me, Ms. Myers?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can. So, Ms. Myers, welcome to the meeting. We have a 3-minute time limit on comments from the public. I am present today. I'm Dr. Lozada. Dr. Sparks is also present. She is Secretary Treasurer. Our legal counsel, Mr. Resner, is present, as is Dr. Deanda, our public member, and our executive officer. Oh, there you are. Hello. I thought I was speaking to the phone. So, yes, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Please feel free to start when you're ready.
Okay, and I also brought my own timer, just so you know, so I can't go overboard. So I'll start it now.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm Kara Myers, and I have been a patient of Dr. Lozada's for about 20 years. And I don't want to embarrass him by gushing, but he's been a great doctor to me and everyone that I've sent to him. And needless to say, I have been able to see like a pterodactyl ever since I started working with him. So anyhow, during my last, after my last eye exam, we got to talking because I actually recently went back to school in midlife to go into healthcare. And I otherwise have been a professional video editor for 16 years and worked in creative media, and I still do that. But wanted something a little more steady and something I could feel more secure with for the future. So I went into X-ray. So I am an X-ray student at Washburn. And so I turned 40 not too long ago, and it's very interesting to walk into a different industry. And I've noticed a lot of things just having fresh eyes and walking into something new and also having some life experience. And, you know, most of my experience in healthcare up to this point was as a patient. And I've had a couple of major foot surgeries and also have helped my mother through some surgeries too. And it's kind of, I've discovered that I really have a passion for patient care. And I've noticed that it seems to me like the longer some of the people I see work in healthcare, the more they forget what it's like to be a patient. And I feel like that's such an important thing that I have noticed because the patient is just really why I feel like I'm there. And when I thought of switching careers, I realized that I really couldn't get out of bed to do something for good money. Like I had to get out of bed for a reason. And I really feel like taking good care of people, imagining that, you know, every patient that I see, that's somebody's mom, that's somebody's sister, that's somebody's dad, you know, and treat them like they're my sister or my brother or my dad. And that's the kind of care that I really hope to give to people. And just notice that, you know, giving people just respect, kindness, really listening to them, it makes a huge difference for them. And it doesn't take much to really change their day and make a meaningful experience for them. I'm so surprised how fast 3 minutes went by. I could talk about this forever. It's a good thing I had a timer. Anyway,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. That was well said. Very well said.
Dr. Lozada, I would like to introduce Sheena Ward. She is my Division of Budget Analyst. We discussed the 24-25 budget, and just to put a little bug in your ear, in 2025, I am planning to retire. And we will, and we will be needing a person my replacement to shadow me for a couple months prior to me. So give them an idea of what I do. So it's just something for you to look forward to when I do my budget, because you'll have to help me do it. So, other than that, I don't think there's any other different things on the budget for the next 2 years, but just to give you a heads up. She's who I submit my budget to.
Oh,
It gets through her approval, and then it goes to the governor's approval, and then it goes to the legislature to get approved.
okay, thank you. How many agencies do you work with? All of them healthcare? Oh, yes. Could you please speak to the podium so that the remote people who are joining us remotely could hear you? My apology.
My name is Sheena Ward. I'm with the Division of the Budget. My assignment primarily includes higher education, but I do have a few smaller agencies, one of which is the Board of Examiners in Optometry. I've had it just a couple of years, but the fee boards are smaller agencies, usually of any analyst assignment. And so we have relatively easy transition when it comes to adopting that budget into our current existing assignment. And Jan has done a wonderful job helping me understand what it is that you all do and understanding the different funds that you have and revenue sources and expenditures, and when there's a need for an increase like this past year with regards to an enhancement that she had requested. So, and that went through relatively easily as well. So.
Good, thank you. So I'm the one who asks questions, but after listening to you, I've got to say, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions at all. She has actually tried to get me to come by and visit with you all on a number of occasions, and with the pandemic and working from home and things like that, it was difficult, and I had to take my mother actually to an appointment prior to here. So I was waiting outside because I thought, sorry, Nat, there was, I thought you were all in here testing, so I didn't want to interrupt. In any case, somebody gave me the courage to come on in here. Someone's house outside that's waiting helped me, and so I walked on in, and glad I did, because Jan said it was perfect timing, and so I don't have any questions. I just wanted to come by and meet you all. One of our performance measures in the Division of the Budgets is to make sure that we're getting out and visiting our agencies and getting to meet board members, if there are any agency staff, executive directors, and whatnot, so that we can communicate, anything new that might be expected in the upcoming budget season, which this year is going to be par for the course. So you don't really have anything new to be looking forward to. And then also to hear from you if there's anything new that I should be expecting. We're going into a new budget year, a new biennium. So Jan will be submitting a budget for 24 and 25. And then we'll be looking at your revised request for 23, which is the budget that's already approved, if there are any changes there and whatnot. So she says no. And then we'll probably be putting in a relatively similar budget for 24 and 25, unless there are any changes with regards to cost indices related to health insurance and, any other changes like that. So it should be pretty easy this year.
Good, thank you. Well, like you said, you go out and you visit the agencies. We've been here since 8:30.
Oh.
Yes. Our agenda was a page and a half, roughly. We had to table a few items due to some unforeseen things that happened. But we got through it all, and if you ever want to join us and see how quickly an agency can move, come to one of our meetings. I think that we really do quite a bit of things in the amount of time that we're allotted.
I'm always surprised at what the regulatory boards are able to accomplish in a board meeting. You have a lot to do, so I think it's my hat's off to you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's always a challenge to stay on time.
Absolutely,
it really is. So thank you for coming. Thank you for coming.
You're
If you want to hang around for a few minutes and see what else we do, feel welcome to do so.
Will do.
All right.
go home, which I wish I could, but I'm not that lucky yet.
Well, I have other visits, and trying to get to all of them on time is a challenge. And so I will hang out for a few more minutes and then I'll head out to a full day's work for the rest of the day for myself as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so like I said at the beginning of the day, we would do things and we would make lots of modifications to the agenda, and we are continuing to do so. Jan, I believe that you are done with your portion, correct?
Oh, other than to make one other comment, since how we are a small agency, we kind of get shoved around with the legislative research too. And so I have a new analyst there also, but at least it is not somebody brand new. But it will be a new analyst this year as well when we get through to the legislature. His name is Dylan Deere. So I did invite him to the meeting. I will continue to invite him. So one of these days he will hopefully make it.
Okay, thank you. It's 11:41. We're scheduled to go into recess at noon for the examinations. If it's acceptable to the other board members, there was a comment made from a public member, Todd Fleischer, regarding live stream CE. Could we discuss that?
Absolutely.
All right. Okay, so from what I understood, the acceptance of online CE with a license C was acceptable during the emergency order. And then we have a limitation on the number of hours that can be accepted per year. Then we have a third factor, and that is that COPE is allowing live stream CE to be equivalent to in-person CE. So our dilemma is that we have a limitation on how much online CE a person can have annually. Essentially, we're extending it. And so I suppose this would be a question for Mr. Resner. Earlier in the meeting, we approved extending online CE in order to follow the guidelines that were given by COPE until December 31st of this year. The issue brought up by Todd Fleischer is, can we do that with no executive order in place?
Do you want to go into executive session to discuss this topic?
If we need to, yes.
Okay. I mean, if we're going to get into the area of legal advice, and I think we briefly addressed it in open session, but that may be the best course to follow here.
Can I make one comment before you do?
Certainly.
COPE is not coding it as live. They're coding it as something different. And as far as in the licensing database, I just have to tell ks.gov that this classification is now online and not live. So it's not, it's not like what it was during the pandemic when they were coding everything as live. There's actually a distinction now. And as far as getting it into the licensing database, I just need to.
So you would be able to, at a glance, look to see whether or not it met the live and in person versus the live and remote differential.
Correct.
Okay.
And just to be clear, it just expired on June 30th. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we're going to be discussing an extension. All right, so I'll raise the motion. Motion to enter into executive session to discuss a legal question with justification being a consultation with our board attorney, which would be deemed privilege under the attorney-client relationship. It is 11:44 with open session resuming at 12. Do we have a second? Motion has been seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. It's 11:59. We're going back into open session. At this point, we are going to backstep and go and return to the report of the Secretary Treasurer.
Dr. Lozada, I would like to make a motion to rescind the earlier motion I made regarding the extension of COPE approval for live interactive CE. Based on information, I'd like to rescind that motion and to reset the original extension of approval to June 30 of this year and allow that to stand.
Motion made, motion accepted, motion seconded, sorry. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Is there any other business before the board prior to entering recess? It is exactly 12 o'clock. The board will go into recess for the exam portion of the meeting. Thank you all.